We're still on Diagnostic Test Topic 1. We're going to start with question 11. So just like complex organisms, cells are able to survive by coordinating various activities. Complex organisms have a variety of systems, and cells have a variety of organelles that work together for survival. Describe the roles of two organelles. In your answer, be sure to include the names of two organelles and the function of each, an explanation of how these two organelles work together, and the name of an organelle and the name of a system in the human body that have similar functions. So for this one, it's kind of nice because they're giving us a choice for the last part, not to have to bother using the same two on the top. So it's a little easier to think of how organelles work together and then separately to think of how they relate to the human body. And that's the way I'm going to do it right now. So first things first, we have to identify some organelles. So the easiest one to use for this kind of question is the mitochondria, because the mitochondria produces energy. So for almost any other part of the cell, we can say that the mitochondria works together with it by providing it energy. So the nucleus controls cell functions, the ribosome produces proteins, the cell membrane carries out transport and gas exchange. Those are all good identifications of cell organelles and what they do. So if we want to say how they work together, for example, you could say the mitochondria produces energy for the nucleus to send messages. Or you could say the mitochondria produces energy for the ribosomes to synthesize proteins. Or you could say that the mitochondria produces energy for the cell membrane to do active transport. So all of those are great examples of how we can relate them to one another. And then now if we go to the how do the organelles have a similar function to a human body, you could say that the cell membrane is similar to the lungs because it provides a surface for gas exchange. Or you could say, for example, that the nucleus is similar to the brain because it controls the activities and coordinates the activities of the cell. So all those things work. Number 12. Organ systems of the human body interact to maintain a balanced internal environment. As blood flows through certain organs of the body, the composition of blood changes because of interactions with those organs. State one change in the composition of blood as it flows through the digestive system. So in the last video, we were looking at this diagram, and we said that the digestive system was related to the lysosome here because it digests food. And then in question 10, we also were talking about diffusion, and we said that, oh, that's the wrong page. We said that in the small intestine, nutrients diffuse from the villi into the capillaries. So we kind of answered this question already back in number 10 because we want to know a change in the composition of the blood. So the composition of the blood will change because nutrients will be diffusing into the blood. So after going through the digestive system, the blood should be rich in nutrients. So that's what we want our answer to include. The last question on this side of the page is about Elodea. So it's a plant that lives in fresh water. This represents one Elodea leaf cell in its normal freshwater environment. So just to get an idea of what we're seeing here, this line outside is supposed to represent the cell wall, and this line on the inside is supposed to represent the cell membrane. So the next part of the question says to predict how the contents of the Elodea cell would change if the cell was placed in salt water for several minutes by completing the diagram. So Elodea cell, I don't like the way they set this up because they gave you a cell membrane here, and that's the main part that you want to actually be changing. So I'm a little confused about why they included it this way, because when you put a cell into salt water, you'll have some osmosis of the water out of the cell, and the cell membrane should kind of shrink into like a shriveled up shape, and you have to stick your chloroplasts a little closer together to indicate that the cell membrane shrank to include them. So I think maybe they made a mistake on the diagram that they put here, but that is the main gist of it.